Senior political commentator, former Republican Senator Rick Santorum, and CNN political analyst and USA Today columnist Kirsten Powers.
Regardless of what we know about the whistleblower or don't, Donald Trump has already admitted to doing this. We have at least a partial transcript of a call that completely confirms that this is in fact what he did. He is also blatantly lying about Joe Biden. I mean, the entire reason that he even is asking for this never happened.
And I was supposed to announce that there was another $1 billion loan guarantee. And I had gotten a commitment from Poroshenko and from Yatsenyuk that they would take action against the state prosecutor, and they didn't. So they said they were walking out to press conference. I said, no, I'm not going to, we're not going to give you the $1 billion.
Well, let me ask you, Senator Santorum, because the president today said, well, essentially, look, senators, congresspeople, everybody does this. Would you ever call up the president of Ukraine if you were in power, if you were the president, and say, hey, do me a favor, I got this aid hanging over your head.
They said, you have no authority. You're not the president. The president said. I said, call him.
Okay, you guys need to read the transcript, because I'm listening to this throughout the whole show.
I read the transcript.
Okay, I just read it again because I thought maybe I missed something. The transcript says, do me a favor. And what does he talk about? He doesn't mention Joe Biden's name. He talks about CrowdStrike.
Right, and then he says there's another thing.
Hold on. He talks about election meddling. He finishes his thing talking about the Mueller report and how all this started in Ukraine, and I want you to look into this. Then the president of Ukraine says, we'll look into this, Mr. President. I got good people around me. We're going to look into it. And then he brings up Rudy Giuliani, who, by the way, I agree, has been talking about the Biden situation. The president, of course, knows that he's been talking about the Biden situation. He finishes, the president of Ukraine finishes talking about Giuliani, and that's when the president brings up, then he goes into,
General Bill Barr tapping a top prosecutor to investigate how the Russia probe began.
But
no,
he didn't ask a favor.
That's not
he didn't ask a
that is
favor
not
about
what it
Biden.
says.
That's not what he said.
That's exactly what the
It is
I just
absolutely
read
not
it.
what it says, Rick. And this is outrageous, the way that you are trying to cast this.
Read it.
General Bill Barr tapping a top prosecutor to investigate how the Russia probe began.
A source telling Fox News, Connecticut attorney, actually U.S. attorney from the District of Connecticut, John Durham, will look into government surveillance of the Trump campaign, including the Department of Justice's use of informants and potential FISA abuses.
Also, by the way, let's talk about the foreign policy implications here. Where's your condemnation? Because
They said, you have no authority. You're not the president. The president said. I said, call him.
He knows that Giuliani is skulking about and meeting with Ukrainian officials in Madrid and in Ukraine and elsewhere. And we know what Giuliani's skulking about.
General Bill Barr tapping a top prosecutor to investigate how the Russia probe began.
A misreading of the transcript. I do.
If hanging over the Ukrainian president's head is hundreds of millions of dollars in military aid that he needs to fight an ongoing war in his country, he knows that. The president knows that. You're saying in order for there to be a quid pro quo, the president has to spell it out and say, by the...
They said, you have no authority. You're not the president. The president said. I said, call him.
On a bipartisan basis, and you do me this thing on CrowdStrike and, my conspiracy theory about the 2016 election.
General Bill Barr tapping a top prosecutor to investigate how the Russia probe began.
A source telling Fox News, Connecticut attorney, actually U.S. attorney from the District of Connecticut, John Durham, will look into government surveillance of the Trump campaign, including the Department of Justice's use of informants and potential FISA abuses.